Hello friends. When I was 15, my family moved from England to Scotland. My father had got a big promotion with his job, and he took up the game of golf for the second time in his life. And in order to dust off his game before his first round at Kings Park in Stirling, he went and took me with him to the local soccer field with some balls and just worked on his game. And he started me off with these plastic balls that I use to this day in the back garden for my lessons on video. And so on the first day I hit the plastic ones off a tee, and they went the usual 30 or 40 yards. And apparently on the second day he thought I was making enough progress that he teed up two plastic ones and then a real ball on the third tee. I hit the first two plastic ones the usual way and then hit the real ball, and I couldn't see it. And he pulled me by the shoulder and pointed, and it was still going up. And I was hooked on the game. I subsequently then went to Stirling Library, a lovely library in the old part of Stirling town up near the castle, and took out every golf book, probably twice. Biographies, autobiographies, technique, history of the game, everything. And read everything, tried everything in those golf books, usually failed with it. But of course, provided me with a background for my subsequent profession that was invaluable, because I have tried everything that's been written about the game for the entire history of the literature of the game, which is over 100 years. And so wonderful background for what I now do for a living. So I had concluded, obviously, that golf was the greatest game, and I was committed to it. And a very famous Scotsman called Sean Connery, obviously an actor, but an extraordinarily good golfer as well, thought that the game was so revealing of the individual. When he was asked, this was his description: revealing, obviously absorbing. You can't think about much else on the golf course when you're playing, and of course very humbling. And what I also thought was quite interesting is that he made the remark that he thought that the term game didn't adequately describe golf. He didn't come up with a particularly convincing alternative, but interesting that he thought the word game wasn't good enough. So I became quite competent at the game, and when we subsequently moved back to England when I was about 17, I became the assistant golf pro at the club that we had joined there, working for a wonderful professional called Dennis Slocum, a superb golfer, and did my 3-year apprenticeship, and then a couple of years later emigrated because the weather in England, particularly in the winter, was so abject that somebody who, as I had chosen, wanted to be a golf instructor was going to find that uncomfortable 12 months of the year. So I moved to California, and of course the weather's wonderful, and I haven't looked back. I love being able to teach all through the year here. So fast forward over half a century, and in the depths of the pandemic lockdown, my kids, knowing that I was incredibly bored, suggested that I make a TikTok video, golf instruction video, in my garden. And they filmed it for me and posted it for me, and it overnight went what they call viral. I didn't know what any of this meant, but it's now had over 5 million views some years later. And I then found it so intriguing that I have been making videos ever since. In fact, I've made hundreds of them, both on TikTok and also on YouTube and Instagram. So that means that I feel in a position now, because of my familiarity with using the technology, that I can actually create a book that should help to learn a game which is acknowledged by most people to be somewhat unusual compared with other sports. Obviously, Sean Connery thought so. And one of the features is that it's an extremely individual game. If you watch the TV, even the best golfers in the world, there's some fairly dramatic differences between their swing styles, and yet they're all obviously good enough to earn a living. And it's a very social game. I've been to wonderful places with wonderful people and had a great time with golf. Then it's important to note also that I can't think of another game where it's a lifetime. Sean Connery played until his very later years, played very well and loved the game. And so it's also multi-generational. So I've had the privilege of teaching grandparents and their grandchildren on the same class. And I can't think of another sport where that would be even remotely possible. So one of the things I've concluded is that now that I have this familiarity with making these videos, that I should turn it into a book. I've been asked by many of my clients over the years to write a book. My conclusion always was that not having a famous name, I would not sell many. But I'm sufficiently well known on the internet that I think I can do my video equivalent of a golf book. And it's to, of course, aid in the development of your game. But also, if you're lucky enough to have a loved one who's interested in the game, to provide you with the techniques, the information, the formula, the outline, for you to be able to help them, and then you'll be able to subsequently play with them for, I hope, many years. So I'm delighted to have you join me. Let's get started.